was a complete nobody, a wimp. That is, until I summoned a crazy assassin whose hobby is cutting off the heads of his enemies and wrapping them with a ribbon. Yes, I awakened the skill to summon creatures, and a very special kind of creatures. Humans with super abilities from other dimensions. My life started to change when I used these superhumans to climb the tower, killing monsters, clearing floors with the best rank possible, gaining money and rare equipment. Well, now I will climb the tower to become the best awakener in the world, gaining riches and everything I desire with my crazy summons. Bong Joon-hyuk's day started like any other, walking home, passing by a couple of guys hanging around. One spits, and the other curses him out for getting that crap on his foot. They talk about hustling someone, but Joon-hyuk just keeps moving. His studio's always noisy and dirty, but the cramped rooftop is all he's got. Dinner, ramen again, that's his life. He's Bong Joon-hyuk, 25, juggling 3 part-time jobs, no real career, and drowning in debt that keeps him broke no matter how hard he works. No special talents, just a healthy body and a future that feels as bland as his instant noodles. He calls himself a beta male living a forgettable life. But that night, as he's slurping ramen, a status window pops up in front of him announcing that he's awakened. He almost burns his tongue, shocked. Is this for real? He's heard people call awakening a blessing. If you play it right, it's a jackpot, better than winning the lottery. But only if you survive, and the tower, that place is brutal. Monsters can shred you or you get roasted, frozen, poisoned. There's all kinds of dangerous shit in there. Joon-hyuk's always been the type to avoid trouble and keep his head down. Being a regular nobody is all he's ever known. So to awaken now feels like some kind of cosmic joke. Maybe he's just sleep-deprived and hallucinating. He tries it anyway, mumbling status window, and holy crap, it actually opens. His trait skills are all about summoning. Designated summon, random summon, normal summon. He's not even sure what summoning means, but apparently it's a pretty solid trait. Awakeners all get a special ability, some get sword skills, some can grow giant, whatever. Summoners usually call up spirits, beasts, or golems, so what kind of summoner is he? He figures he might as well try it, does a dorky anime pose, gets embarrassed, and just says the skill out loud. Nothing happens. Then he remembers, you can't use skills outside the tower. Everyone knows that, it's all over the internet. He was just too hyped and forgot. Suddenly the status window says his summon is starting. He's actually shocked as a purple blur appears by his door and then out steps a man. Wait, a real human? This can't be right. The guy greets him and Joon-hyuk is sweating bullets. Not only did the summon work outside the tower, but it's a person. The guy sniffs the air, asks about the ramen, and Joon-hyuk lets him have some, joking that maybe he summoned a one-bite bandit. The summon scarfs it down, complaining it's spicy. Joon-hyuk teases him, how can he think this is spicy? But seriously, how did his skill work outside the tower, and has anyone ever summoned a human before? He rechecks his status. Apparently, he can summon humans, and their rarity goes from R to SR to SSR and even LSSR, like a gacha game. These summons have rules. First, protect the summoner's life. Second, obey every command. And if those conflict, protection comes first. Absolute obedience sounds great, but who did he just summon? He checks the guy's stats. Mad Assassin of the Cruel Guild. Real name John Corsack, an SR-level assassin with a 6-hour manifestation, a satisfaction rating, and a 3-hour cooldown. John was the black sheep of his guild, a maniac with a 99% mission success rate, even took out a 5th circle black mage, until he got killed on a job. Suddenly, a migraine slams into Joon-hyuk as all this info floods his brain, his eyes turning blue as he gets sucked into another world. He finds himself watching John's past. The assassin blitzes through 3 guys, decapitating them and tying bows on their heads. This guy's seriously twisted. Turns out, John's last job was a trap. The Empire's top swordmaster was waiting for him, and John got sliced in half before he could react. Back to reality, John appears right behind Joon-hyuk, whispering in his ear. Joon-hyuk freaks and crashes into his monitor. John apologizes, just wanting to know if there's anything he should do. Joon-hyuk reminds himself that summoned beings are supposed to obey absolutely, so he tells John to clean up the ramen and wipe the table. John does it in a flash, no complaints. Maybe this obedience thing really works. Joon-hyuk gets curious and asks John to bark like a dog. John starts doing laps around the room, barking nonstop. This guy is totally nuts. Then, a loud banging at the door interrupts, debt collectors. Joon-hyuk forgot today was interest payment day. He borrowed about 7 grand for his dad's surgery and his siblings' college tuition since no bank would help him. Private loan, sky-high interest. He's paid back more than half in interest alone, but what choice did he have? He'd do it again if he had to. He tells John to hide in the bathroom and keep quiet. The collectors barge in, rough, making nasty jokes about selling organs and even his sibling. Joo-hyuk swallows his anger and plays along, letting them threaten him, then they finally leave. John slips out of the bathroom, having stayed silent as ordered. Exhausted, Joo-hyuk wonders if he's really cut out for the tower. He's always been a coward, and even with money on the line, that hasn't changed. John asks what he should do next. Joo-hyuk tells him he can leave if he wants, but John says he'd rather watch TV. Joo-hyuk has no idea how John even knows about dramas or ramen, but whatever, why not? John starts binging TV, and Joo-hyuk finds it oddly comforting not to be alone for once. He drifts off to sleep, only to wake up to his alarm and realize John's gone. His summon only lasts 6 hours, after all. The morning news is all over a grisly murder at the Smile Cash Loan office. 3 decapitated bodies, heads tied up with ribbons. Joo-hyuk's toothbrush clatters to the floor as it hits him. That's John's signature move. He starts to panic, remembering the memories he saw. At work, he's so rattled he starts hallucinating the boss's severed head wrapped in a ribbon, asking him to ring up his purchases. He can't focus, so he takes a break from his jobs, racked with guilt. That night back home, he checks John's stats again. The guy's definitely a psycho, but supposedly can't hurt his summoner. Still, Joo-hyuk is a little scared. When he tries to summon John again, a window pops up. He has to rate John's performance first. He wants to give 1 star for being unhinged, but remembers his mom's job and how much bad ratings hurt, so he settles on 3 stars. John appears, all polite, thanking him for the rating and pledging to work harder. Joo-hyuk can't believe this guy looks so innocent. He asks point-blank if John killed the loan sharks. John calmly says yes, took care of them all before his time was up. Joo-hyuk's stomach twists. He tries to keep cool, knowing John can't hurt him, but still asks how John even found the office. John says he marked them with a tracking skill when they barged in. They were a threat, and threats get eliminated. Joo-hyuk protests that he never gave the order, but John explains the rules. If the summoner's in danger, protecting them trumps obedience. Even if Joo-hyuk ordered him to kill himself, he wouldn't. The rules can be interpreted broadly, and from John's point of view, those guys were a problem that come back sooner or later. Joo-hyuk calls this psychotic but apologizes. John says he's heard that before. Joo-hyuk tries to explain how dangerous this could be. Like, what if they're walking down the street and bump into some gangster? Normally, that's just a bluff, but John would probably just decapitate the guy and tie a bow on his head. Joo-hyuk bites his nails, anxious. John kneels, apologizing, but Joo-hyuk tells him murder isn't the answer. It could land them both in deep trouble. John promises to be more careful. He's definitely obedient, at least. John then asks if Joo-hyuk plans to climb the tower. Joo-hyuk admits it's a once-in-a-lifetime shot, but he's terrified. People die in there. He asks if other summoners have called John before. John says there were real heroes, but looks a little sad. Joo-hyuk feels like a coward compared to those who use their powers to save the world. But John disagrees. He says Joo-hyuk is the best summoner. Safety first, that's the real virtue. Brave summoners die early, and if that happens, John can't come back. He tells Joo-hyuk not to worry and just focus on staying alive. John will handle the dirty work. That night, Joo-hyuk can't sleep, torn about the tower. Shouldn't he just be grateful the loan sharks are gone and get on with his regular life? Maybe if he keeps grinding away, things will get better. But then his dad calls, talking about moving hospitals and Joo-hyuk's mom losing her job. He promises to visit soon, then hangs up, feeling the weight all over again. He gears up in makeshift armor, a construction vest, and a bat. He figures he'll just peek at the first floor of the tower and bail. Since he took the day off, now's the time. He considers summoning someone else, maybe score something legendary, but the random summon is on a 28-day cooldown. So, he calls John, gives him a 5-star rating, and tells him they're heading to the tower. John sees through him. He's not being brave, just cautious. Joo-hyuk admits he's only planning to dip his toes in and run. John's cool with it, telling him to ditch all the weird gear. Once inside, John will do all the work. Joo-hyuk is just along for the ride. The tower's status window asks if he wants to enter the Black Tower of Korea. Only the first floor is open. Joo-hyuk steels himself, asks if John's ready, and hits the button. As they get sucked in, Ju Hyuk starts screaming, totally panicked, while John holds on tight. When the world stops spinning, they're standing at the entrance to a wasteland. Ju Hyuk pukes. John says he'll get used to it. The mission pops up: defeat 5 fat grubs in 2 hours. John points them out. These things are supposed to be easy, like training dummies, but their skin's tough. Most newbies only manage one every half hour, but now Ju Hyuk's a player too. He decides to try taking down the first one himself, borrowing one of John's weapons. But as he steps up, the grub rears up and Ju Hyuk realizes he's made a mistake. He panics and yells for John's help. John says that's the smartest move yet, then wrecks the grub with a single blow. Tells Ju Hyuk to stand back, then goes full beast mode, throwing knives, exploding blades, grubs flying everywhere. Ju Hyuk watches, stunned, as John destroys all 5, not even breaking a sweat. The mission's a breeze. Ju Hyuk's level goes up, he pockets 100 G of magic stones, and even scores a platinum badge with an S+ rating. It was way too easy. He's starting to think he could get rich at this rate. What he didn't realize is how huge this was. Players across South Korea all get notified. When he's teleported back home, he's surprised. It only took him 3 minutes and he's a little dizzy. John congratulates him and Ju Hyuk laughs, saying he did nothing. John insists he did well, but Ju Hyuk knows most people are wiped out after just 5 grubs. He checks out the magic stones, realizing they're a big deal for modern industry, even if the price has dropped. The platinum badge, though, that's a new one. With 50,000 won earned in 3 minutes, Ju Hyuk decides to treat John. He grabs some good convenience store food, and John immediately knows it's pork trotters. Ju Hyuk makes sure they're not spicy, knowing John can't handle heat. John jokes about the spice anyway. They laugh about it, talk about John's weird way of speaking, and Ju Hyuk says it's actually kind of fun. He's more convinced than ever that neither John nor the tower is as dangerous as he thought. The next day, he plans to quit his worst job and just work with John, climbing the tower in his free time. He gives John another 5 stars, joking he'd give 10 if he could. John explains the higher the satisfaction rating, the more perks he gets, longer manifestation, higher rank, and better odds on future summons. They dive into the tower's 2nd floor. This time, the mission is to take out 10 grubs, but they're a lot faster. Ju Hyuk admits he's not sure what to do, but John tells him not to stress. He'll have them home in 3 minutes flat. Ju Hyuk asked John if he was down for some chicken and beer, and John was all for it. He wanted more chances to use his blade explosion anyway. Ju Hyuk breezed through the 2nd floor just like he promised, bagging 200 grams of magic stones, snagging another S+ rank, and earning another platinum badge. He couldn't help but wonder if it was supposed to be this easy. Even for someone fast, this felt way too quick. Honestly, he could run in, finish up, and be out before his morning part-time job even started. Moving on to the 3rd floor, more grubs showed up, but John just wiped them out instantly. Another 300 grams of magic stones, and yet another platinum badge. This kept happening floor after floor until Ju Hyuk had cleared 5 in a row. Because he'd racked up 5 platinum badges, he unlocked a special privilege. His awakened trait got enhanced, letting him summon 2 creatures at once now. He thought that sounded straight up nuts, considering even one summon was already steamrolling everything. The S++ clear rewards were awesome, but he figured there had to be something better out there. Still, that would just make him race through the tower without even breaking a sweat. He had more than 20 days left on the random summon cooldown, so he figured after that, the 3 of them would go together, but let's be real, he'd be living the easy life while John and whoever else did the heavy lifting. But tomorrow, he was going back in with John, just keeping the grind going. Meanwhile, over at the Korean Awakened Management Society, everyone was sitting around looking super tense. One guy wondered if the announcement would come in the morning or later at night. A woman asked if he meant the tower announcement, and he jumped, telling her to quit sneaking up on him. The guy was Joan Gwang-il, and the woman was Lee Mina. She said she just couldn't help being curious. Gwang-il wanted to know if there was any new announcement, and she told him there was. It was another S+ rank clear on the 6th floor. He pointed out that the Black Tower's global alerts had been going off non-stop, each one announcing some wild new rank clear. It was definitely just one person, someone blowing through the floors with talent no one had ever seen. If the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th floors ended up S+2, nobody in the world could stop this player. They were totally misreading everything. Just then, a man named Park Kyung-gu, the agency director, slammed his desk. He pointed out that up till now, Korea's best record was just a rank. For there to be a higher grade and for it to be revealed to all players meant the international community might come sniffing around. Someone could even try to kidnap the player and Korea could lose him to another country. They needed to find this player ASAP, keep a close watch on all newly registered players, and try to spot him before anyone else. A few days later, Joo Hyuk asked John if they were heading up to the 8th floor that day. John said yes, all while doing some house chores. Joo Hyuk thought clearing 1 floor a day with 0 effort was pretty sweet. Up to the 10th floor was where you ditched the newbie status, and things might get tougher after that, but for now, it was a breeze. As they strolled through the forest on the 8th floor, the goal was to beat 10 red thorn frog warriors. One of the frogs leapt at John, tongue out, but John just coated his blade with aura and cleaved through that one and the other 9 like it was nothing. Another floor cleared. Joo Hyuk got 800 grams of magic stones, a tower-exclusive healing potion, another S+ rank, and yet another platinum badge. John told him good work again, but Joo Hyuk said he didn't need to keep saying that since John was the one doing all the work. John replied that entering the tower was the hardest part, and Joo Hyuk admitted that thanks to John, they always climbed easily. John warned him not to get too comfortable, things would get rougher after the 10th floor. With another 3-minute clear under his belt, Joo Hyuk thought about getting John a present for all his hard work. There was still plenty of real-world time left, so he told John to go out, have some fun, eat something good, but not to get in trouble. John refused, saying he couldn't leave Joo Hyuk's side, so he'd just watch TV at home. Joo Hyuk asked if John wanted to order some chicken, and John said that sounded awesome. Joo Hyuk immediately started dialing for delivery, joking that John basically turned into a chicken. Joo Hyuk checked his rewards. He thought about giving John the healing potion, but he was stumped about what to do with all the magic stones piling up in his inventory. Selling them would net him about 2 million won, so he figured it was time to start cashing out soon. By day 10 of climbing, they were almost ready for the 10th floor. Joo Hyuk admitted he'd only meant to try the tower out for fun, but now he was clearing a floor every day. The 9th floor had been just as easy as the others. Clearing the stage was a given, but getting double S+ rewards was a sweet bonus. Honestly, John was his MVP. Joo Hyuk had already forgotten John killed 3 people, but whatever. He summoned John again, and thanks to all the high ratings, John got to stick around for an extra hour. Joo Hyuk thought it was totally worth it. John even made a heart symbol with his arms when he appeared, thanking Joo Hyuk, who said he was looking forward to more teamwork. When they entered the 10th floor, Joo Hyuk noticed his physical abilities had been bumped up to match his level, traits and combat skills included. He could really feel it, like his body was overflowing with strength and mana, especially in his lower abdomen. He joked he felt like an untamable wild horse and getting into it, told John he was going to help out from now on. John immediately shut that down, saying if Joo Hyuk even got a scratch he'd have to bash his own head in. Joo Hyuk insisted he'd be fine, but John said praise was enough. Joo Hyuk wanted to do it together, though. Suddenly, the ground started shaking, and he saw a giant eye staring at him, a mantis, massive and creepy. Joo Hyuk started freaking out, wondering how players even managed to catch something like that. Sending 2 people to fight a bug felt like a blow to his pride. John said there was nothing for him to be embarrassed about, but Joo Hyuk argued the pride thing was about himself. The mantis clicked its freaky mandibles, and Joo Hyuk started hyping John up. The mantis charged, but John dodged, ran up its arm, and when he got close to its neck, chopped off both its arms and sliced it up. Stage cleared. Joo Hyuk scored a whole kilo of magic stones and another platinum badge. John flipped his sword in the air and caught it, announcing another mission complete, and now they could challenge the 11th floor. Joo Hyuk was blown away by the rewards, and since he got a special perk at 5 platinum badges before, he guessed it would happen every 5. Right on cue, he got the chance to copy one skill from a summon. The system started listing out all John's skills. Joo Hyuk was surprised, but John told him not to hesitate, just pick Shadow Step. Joo Hyuk wondered what he meant, and John said not to ask questions, just grab Shadow Step. It was useful for running away if something happened to John, discreet, fast. Joo Hyuk acted offended, like he looked like the kind of guy who'd ditch his team to save himself. Of course, he still picked the skill. He admitted to himself that quick footwork was actually pretty important in a fight. Total copium moment. He wondered if the skill would work in real life, so he went outside to try it, but just ended up looking like an idiot. He complained that if he was allowed to summon in the real world, he should be able to use skills too, but there was no consistency. John said he had no idea what Ju Hyuk was on about but agreed anyway. On the 11th day of climbing, Ju Hyuk called the Awakened Management Call Center, saying he was a new awakened and needed some help. They asked if he needed government assistance at his house, and he said yes, giving his address. All he wanted was to sell his magic stones, but making that call was the bravest thing he'd ever done. Meanwhile, Mina was getting into a car and Gwang-il asked if the guy she checked out yesterday was the one. She didn't think so, and he wondered if the real guy would ever show up. She told him there was another call today and that he should come with her. He said they'd just have to keep running around chasing leads. If it really was the guy, they'd have to recruit him to the elite team with every perk they could offer. Ju Hyuk, realizing they were on their way, started cleaning his apartment like mad. Right on time, there was a knock at the door management agency. He answered, apologizing that his place was kind of small, but welcomed them in. Gwang-il introduced himself, then Mina. Ju Hyuk admitted to himself that Mina made him way more nervous because she was so intense. She got right up in his face and said it had to be him, the S+ rank. Ju Hyuk was thrown off, wondering if they had some secret way to identify awakened people. He told himself to deny everything and act normal. He went full robot, saying he'd heard about that S+ stuff, but it definitely wasn't him. Mina called him out, saying his face was the classic liar look. Gwang-il told her to stop fishing, and she dodged, saying she understood, then apologized for being disrespectful. Ju Hyuk said it was fine, more surprised that they were just testing him. Then they got the rundown on the tower from Tabby, Korea's tower mascot. The tower was taller than any building on Earth. It had just shown up all over the world 20 years ago and nobody could get close, like an invisible wall was blocking everyone. The tower's purpose became clear when players appeared. You clear floors, one after another. Outside, players were ordinary, but inside the tower they got powers, skills, and rewards that could level up their gear and even boost the world economy. If nobody kept climbing, a warning would pop up about slow progress and a countdown started. 6 months with no new floor cleared, the tower collapsed. That's how Mumbai disappeared. Korea got lucky, only getting one tower while most nations got 1 to 3. They estimated there were 5 to 10,000 players in Korea, about 0.01% of the population, small but steady progress. They were right behind the US, which was at floor 66. Basically, modern-day heroes were holding it down for everyone, and all newly awakened were encouraged to register. Gwang-il closed his laptop, saying orientation was over. Ju Hyuk muttered that it was kind of cringe. Gwang-il started asking some verification questions. Was Ju Hyuk truly awakened? Ju Hyuk said yes and showed them some mono crystals as proof of clearing. Gwang-il asked which floor he'd reached, and when Ju Hyuk said the 10th, both of them realized that was the same as the guy they were looking for. Mina asked if he'd heard about the global announcement. Ju Hyuk played it cool, saying he'd heard of it and whoever did it was incredible, though he sounded super robotic. Gwang-il told him not to be nervous, but Ju Hyuk's teeth started chattering. Gwang-il thought this was sus but went on to explain the contract details. Players were split into 2 teams, the elite team and the general raid team. General players could climb on their own schedule, kind of like freelancers. Elite players worked closely with the bureau, took on higher floors, and got funding, gear, and security because outside the tower, players were just regular people. Gwang-il started talking about salary, but Ju Hyuk panicked. If they figured out he was the S+ guy, he'd get buried by reporters. He hated being the center of attention. Gwang-il continued, explaining that elite team members had to wear body cams, but Ju Hyuk cut him off, saying he'd stick with the general team. Gwang-il was surprised, but Ju Hyuk insisted he wanted no part of the spotlight. He'd just chill on a safe floor and take his share of the loot. Gwang-il told him to think it over, but Ju Hyuk said his mind was made up. Mina decided there was no way Ju Hyuk was the S++ guy, just another false lead. Plenty of players farmed easy floors, but none owned up to being that pathetic. A coward like that didn't deserve elite status. Determination was what mattered. Gwang-il said they'd respect his decision, but asked if Ju Hyuk could do a tower run so they could confirm his abilities. Ju Hyuk figured they just wanted to see if he was the S+ player. He said he'd do a run, but it might take 2 hours. They told him to take his time and not feel pressured. As he left, he told them to help themselves to the food and TV. Once he was gone, Gwang-il said he was definitely awakened, but Mina thought he'd quit on the 11th floor. She'd been there, the centipede tunnel, not hard, just creepy as hell. You had to kill 100 bugs and someone like Ju Hyuk would panic and bail. Gwang-il said she was usually right, but he'd tell the director it was another dead end. Back inside the tower, Ju Hyuk summoned John, who thanked him as usual. They already knew what the 11th floor was, centipedes. 3-hour time limit, and Ju Hyuk was losing his mind, saying he hated bugs. John said he'd clear it in 5 minutes, but Ju Hyuk said no, it had to be slow and steady, none of that S+ speed. He was trying to look like a regular player. John said he understood, and Ju Hyuk was happy to have a chance to mess up his record and slip under the radar. John started killing monsters, but Ju Hyuk thought he was still too fast and told him to slow down. John dialed it back, but then Ju Hyuk got tossed into the air by a centipede and freaked out, yelling that he needed to run as the bugs started swarming him. John rushed in, cut them all up, and ended up wiping out every centipede nearby. Ju Hyuk realized he'd screwed up, telling John to stop, but John said his safety always came first. Of course, they got another platinum badge, and Ju Hyuk cursed himself for messing up. John apologized, but Ju Hyuk was annoyed. He left the tower, and Mina commented that it had been 5 minutes, so he'd be back any second. As if on cue, the status window announced the floor was cleared, and Ju Hyuk reappeared. They both realized they'd blown it, the timing was too perfect. Ju Hyuk thought he'd have to silence them both to keep his secret. Suddenly, John appeared behind him, and Ju Hyuk imagined John cutting off both their heads and putting ribbons on them, freaking out and apologizing. He snapped out of his daydream, sweating, and cleared his throat, saying he was fine. Gwang-il insisted their elite team needed a talent like him, but Ju Hyuk said there must be a mistake. It was probably just a coincidence with another player's clear time. Gwang-il wasn't convinced, but Ju Hyuk insisted it wasn't him. They agreed to prep the contract anyway, and Ju Hyuk laughed, happy they bought his story. But when they handed him the contract, it was for the elite team. He said he wanted a general contract, but Gwang-il said this was a unique case, an ultra-elite contract. 12 billion won a year, free real estate, double VIP treatment, full security, even immunity privileges. Ju Hyuk joked that at this point, he was basically royalty. Gwang-il told him these perks were only for Korea's #1 player, Yuchmin. He told Ju Hyuk to check it out, but Ju Hyuk refused. If it wasn't a general contract, he wasn't playing. They wondered why he was so against it. Ju Hyuk explained that attention stressed him out. He was a total introvert. Climbing the tower was fun now, but it was only the 11th floor, who knew what the future held. Gwang-il agreed to back off and go with the general contract, saying most people would be frustrated seeing this. Why not just take the contract, get the perks, and climb? But the elite contract came with heavy responsibilities. If he joined, he couldn't just quit climbing. The team was made for pushing to the top. That was too much pressure. Ju Hyuk just wanted a chill, comfortable life. Back at the management office, Kyunggu pointed out that the report didn't match over the phone. Ju Hyuk sounded timid and unmotivated. Gwang-il confirmed that was accurate. Kyunggu asked if they were sure he was the guy, and Gwang-il said yes. Soo didn't get it, saying Ju Hyuk just seemed like someone who couldn't stand people. Kyunggu wondered if they made a mistake, but Mina said the timing was too perfect. Kyunggu insisted that even if Ju Hyuk was timid, he was still an insane talent and needed to be recruited to the elite team. Gwang-il promised he'd make it happen. Back with Ju Hyuk, he was yelling, "Absolutely not," pretending to be angry. He told John they'd been busted and that next time John disobeyed, he'd unsummon him on the spot. John apologized. They moved on to the 12th floor, where the task was to beat 20 icicle spear weasels in 3 hours. Ju Hyuk said they had to take it slow, just like he ordered. John saluted, saying loyalty above all else. Ju Hyuk thought maybe he could trust John this time. If they played it cool from the 12th floor onward, maybe the agency would lose interest, but holy crap, it was cold. He'd come prepared, but it was even colder than expected. John noticed Ju Hyuk was shivering and asked if he was okay. Ju Hyuk tried to play it off, but John said they needed to finish fast so Ju Hyuk wouldn't catch a cold, which, according to John, was an incurable disease. Ju Hyuk groaned that absolute obedience was a shit myth, and of course, they got another S+ clear for the floor. Gwang-il called to ask if Ju Hyuk had just cleared the 12th floor. Ju Hyuk said yes, but the 13th might be too hard. John said it was warm now and he was going to watch TV. Ju Hyuk unsummoned him, crying that he didn't deserve the privilege. Next day on the 13th floor, Ju Hyuk complained it was full of traps, way too dangerous to mess around. John said he'd just break through everything, carrying Ju Hyuk to the end like a princess. Perfect clear, of course. 14th floor, the monsters had wide-range eyeball attacks, so John handled them before they even had a chance, another perfect clear. Ju Hyuk figured whatever happened, happened. He sold all his magic stones, making almost 3 million won, plus a 2 million support fund for being a general player. Adding the new magic stones, he'd made over 7 million in 14 days. If he kept climbing, who knew how much he'd earn? Selling through the office meant 1 million a day, no fees or taxes. He decided to quit his part-time jobs. Next day, he summoned John, who was in the corporal punishment pose, humbled that Ju Hyuk still gave him 5 stars despite disobeying. Ju Hyuk said John could clear however he wanted from now on, no need to go slow. John asked if that was really okay. Ju Hyuk said the office already knew, and if he kept getting platinum badges, he'd have 15 after this next mission. More perks were likely, and he was greedy. Perks meant more safety. He told John it was time to kick more ass. On the 15th floor, the task was to take down 20 goblin workers. Ju Hyuk noted these were the first humanoids he'd faced, and even if they were dumb, they still had some brains. John explained that from here, clearing got tricky, even with good info. If one goblin escaped, he'd bring others. Goblins were sneaky bastards. John would have to stay hidden, wipe them out, then come back. He used his stealth skill, and Ju Hyuk wondered if he'd use that again later. 2 goblins lost their heads before the third even noticed. At this rate, there was no risk of them fighting back or warning the others. Mission done, level up, more magic stones, another healing potion, and a platinum token. Both of them grinned as they got sent back to Ju Hyuk's room. Ju Hyuk opened his inventory, seeing he now had 15 badges. As expected, he unlocked another perk. At 5 badges, he got a trait enhancement. At 10, he got skill copy. Now he was wondering what the next perk would be, but for now they were back on the chill seat. The new perk for obtaining 15 badges was an item, an energy shield, that had been sent to his tower inventory. He promptly equipped it. It was a kit with the effect of protecting the user by absorbing damage. It had a limit to how much damage it could absorb, a cooldown of 5 hours, and its effect could scale with level. Upon equipping it, the kit became a full armor, wrapping Ju Hyuk's body in a transparent suit. According to the description, it lacked the tower-exclusive restriction. Ju Hyuk tried equipping it outside the tower, and bingo, he could use it in the real world as well. He pondered how much he could get if he sold it on the market, 2, maybe 3 billion. Maybe he should sell it right now and retire from climbing the tower. But the thought that, if he climbed higher, the rewards would be even better stopped him from selling it. He asked John if they could clear the 16th floor with an S++ rank immediately. John, while eating some chicken, said it was definitely possible, but he couldn't guarantee an S++ rank. Ju Hyuk was surprised. Until now, it had been a breeze to get the best rank on every floor. Then the thought of selling the bracelet returned, tempting Ju Hyuk once more. Back at the association, Mr. Park commented that the global announcements of S++ clear records had stopped and asked how much time had passed since then. Gwang-il said that today was the 15th day and that Ju Hyuk was currently stopped at the 15th floor. Mr. Park became angry that a player with such talent was being so timid that it hindered his own progress. Gwang-il explained that the difficulty increased greatly at the 16th floor, but he believed Ju Hyuk had not given up on the conquest. He was suddenly interrupted by a notice saying that Ju Hyuk was coming to visit the association with the objective of using the player shop. Mr. Park, surprised by the news, said that maybe he was farming the 15th floor to raise funds for new items. Gwang-il agreed, saying it was likely true, since Ju Hyuk had previously been completely unequipped. Mr. Park grew angry at himself, calling himself a fool for not seeing Ju Hyuk's real objective and criticizing his own judgment. He then screamed that when Ju Hyuk arrived, he was to be allowed to take any item he wanted for a giveaway price. 15 days earlier, John had been stunned by what he had just heard from Ju Hyuk. Ju Hyuk had asked John to stab him with a dagger. John, not understanding the meaning behind it, said that if he had displeased Ju Hyuk, he should just beat him to death instead, or at least cut off an arm. In truth, Ju Hyuk only wanted to see if the energy shield really worked. John, like a child, started screaming that he hadn't heard anything at all and that he couldn't hear Ju Hyuk. Ju Hyuk simply pulled John's arm, driving the dagger into his own stomach. The dagger pierced him and blood splashed out. He said he had forgotten to activate the shield as he poured a potion onto the wound, while John collapsed, shouting that he would cut off the arm that had wounded the summoner. John screamed at Ju Hyuk, telling him he must never do something like that again. Ju Hyuk simply agreed and told John to continue his hunt. John rapidly killed one goblin after another. In under 10 minutes, he had killed all the monsters. In the meantime, Ju Hyuk practiced the skill he had copied, Shadow Step. By activating it, he moved a great distance in an instant. Mesmerized by the feeling, he said he now understood why John had told him to learn this skill and kept using it to move freely. Eventually, he stopped behind a goblin that was lying low to hide from John. After seeing Ju Hyuk, the goblin jumped at him. Ju Hyuk raised his arm, blocking the goblin's bite with the energy shield, then kicked its jaw, screaming that it was disgusting. John, noticing the goblin flying in his direction, cut it in half, saying it was a nice pass. John then suddenly realized the goblin had come from Ju Hyuk and rushed toward him, asking if he was all right and whether he had been hurt in any way. After confirming he was fine, John started screaming at Ju Hyuk, saying that he shouldn't be so reckless, just as he had warned him before. After farming the 15th floor for 15 days, Ju Hyuk accumulated a total of 22.5 kg of magic stones, equivalent to 11,250,000 won. Back in the present, Gwangil thanked Ju Hyuk for the call. Ju Hyuk asked if he could see the player's shop right away, and Gwangil promptly agreed. When Ju Hyuk arrived at the association, Gwangil met him, saying it had been a while. He then said he would show him the way. Ju Hyuk became shy, saying it was definitely VIP treatment. After registering Ju Hyuk's biometrics, he was allowed to visit the shop whenever he wanted. Gwangil asked if he should show him the interior, but Ju Hyuk said there was no need, he would look around by himself. Upon entering the shop, he was surprised by how luxurious everything was, but he wondered why there were no other customers. Maybe the items were simply too expensive. He had no time to think about it. He had come to sell all his magic stones. He sold them for 11,250,000 won and asked if it was possible to use the money right there. The agent said it was indeed possible. With his social energy completely drained, Ju Hyuk just wanted to buy what he came for and go home. Mr. Park asked if Ju Hyuk was shopping without any issues. Gwangil confirmed that he was and added that the association had closed the shop exclusively for Ju Hyuk that day. The staff had been instructed to sell all items at 90% off, because giving the items away for free, considering Ju Hyuk's nature, would only trouble him. Back at home, Ju Hyuk tested his new adamant mace, which he had bought for 2 million won, along with his basilisk leather boots, purchased for 3 million won. He wondered if items normally didn't start at around 20 million, but judging by how Gwangil had greeted him, it was clearly special treatment. It felt burdensome, but at least the boots were pretty. With the boots and the bracelet, he now had a full defensive set, all thanks to his perks. He had promised himself he wouldn't become greedy while climbing the tower, but this perk was starting to change that. The next day, he summoned John. John arrived, saluting Ju Hyuk and asking if they would farm the 15th floor again. Ju Hyuk denied it, saying they would go to the 16th floor instead. The cooldown for his summoning skill was over, so he planned to summon another person. Saying various prayers from around the world and finishing with an abracadabra, he used random summon. A purple silhouette appeared once again, but it didn't stop growing until the person's head broke through the ceiling. Ju Hyuk, desperate, asked what in the world he had just summoned. And that is where we leave off for today. If you want to know what happens next, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next part.